tells tales of 1852.
Oh, yeah, I'd have done it with both hands.
While Joe spins jokes both old and new.
A real airman would be able to tell me.
No, you're full of shit.
Got the gleam.
Not at that fucking altitude.
Get a real airman in the space down there. He can tell me what kind of fighter that is.
So grab a seat and settle in. The fun is just about to begin. It's time for the Frank and Joe Show.
Yeah, they'd be full of shit too.
Welcome. Happy Thursday, folks. It's the Frank and Joe Show, our little Thursday afternoon show. We'll touch on some topics, but we've got myself, your host, Joe Lanou, and Frank. Frank, our favorite Air Force Vietnam veteran. But Frank, how you doing this cool Thursday?
Well, you already got me laughing with that new intro, where that part where that fighter jet was at 30,000 feet, and you're asking me what the fuck kind of fighter that was.
Look, I was just looking for an airman's opinion, and that's what we got. We didn't get much of one on that. You still hadn't told us what airplane that was.
Yeah, 30,000. I'll take a guess. It was a Air Force fighter jet. How about that?
Yeah. You know what? I'm not sure if it was Air Force. It could have been NATO. I couldn't tell from it. But, I was an infantryman, and, we don't really do that. But Frank, we've also got our space going, the Frank and Joe live stream companion space, and Corey's going to be emceeing in there. Corey, you got us. How's the audio in there? You guys picking us up?
We're picking y'all up very great, and glad to hear from you and Frank. Mostly Frank, though, not you. Look ahead.
Is that
Thank you, Corey?
Just someday you might not hear from Frank. Is that what it is?
I mean, it could be. It lets us know that he's still alive and kicking. So
Yeah. Yeah, we're all on a limited time basis around here.
Yeah. Well, we're all on borrowed time, are we not? We've had some interesting things going on in the news this last 7 days or so. A lot of talk about Greenland. What do you think about that, Frank?
I think it's great. I think they came to a conclusion that we're going to build it up, and the people are going to get paid by their government. It's not going to cost us much. It's great. We've been there since I believe 54. We helped them. We protected them in World War II. And we've had a base, Air Force base in Thule, Greenland, for many years. I remember that base coming out of tech school. We had a couple of guys that were, they told us, where we were going, and they were going to Thule, Greenland, and everybody went, oh, shit. Who in the hell wants to go to Thule, Greenland?
Well, I believe it's the Space Force that's up there now. They've changed that into the Space Force.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I just read that.
Fox News did a pretty good rundown on kind of the history of Greenland and why the U.S. and the Trump administration in particular, is pushing for that. Let's take a listen to this.
Going to show you a number of maps here to give you a bit of a history lesson, and also what the president's talking about, what the European powers are talking about. Remember, our show, America's Newsroom, almost 2 years ago, we went well above the Arctic Circle into an area north of Alaska. Here's Greenland right off the coast of Canada. We were over here in the Beaufort Sea with the U.S. Navy. As you see on the map, Greenland's a lot closer to North America than it is to our European partners in NATO. Over here, the size of Greenland. Brazil is 3.2 million square miles. Massive country, but Greenland is the largest island in the world at 836,000 square miles. Relative to California, it's much larger, with California at 163,000 miles, if you're able to put that into your mind. Come over here. I'm just going to show you a few things here. I know there's a lot of moving parts on this map. Think about two things right now when I talk about this. This is Russia, right? Every red dot is a Russian Arctic base. Every green dot is a NATO Arctic base, primarily U.S. here, and a few with NATO and the U.S. in Greenland. The early warning system, it lines the northern parts of Canada. Now, what the Russian submarines and the Russian Navy has done, and by the way, the Russians, they lead the world in icebreakers. They have nuclear-powered icebreakers, which means if they're at sea and they want to stay afloat and out on sea, they can do that because they're powered with nuclear power behind them. The United States is well behind on this effort, trying to catch up. Why would you need a nuclear-powered icebreaker? This is the Northwest Passage. That's what we use. It's tricky, right? But when it gets frozen when it gets frozen for most of the year and it thaws a little bit in July, a little bit more in August, and some in mid-September, you can transit through this area. But what the Russian submarines have been doing for quite some time, you see the gap noted here and the Bear Gap here? That goes between Greenland and Iceland. It goes between Iceland and the UK. And this is what the NATO powers are worried about with regard to Russia and the growing influence of China in the Arctic region. Here's another map for you, all right? Washington, D.C. to the capital city of Nuuk in Greenland, 2,000 miles. Moscow in Russia to the capital city of Greenland, 2,000 miles. Denmark somewhat closer at 1,800 miles, just to give you a sense of relativity. See all these lines on the map over here? If you were to get into a conflict with Russia and China, intercontinental ballistic missiles would not travel this way around the world, or even this way. The shortest distance between two lines, right? It's a straight line between two places, and Greenland sits between Moscow and Russia, perhaps Beijing and China, and this is what the president's been emphasizing. You need that area, he argues, in order to put your future space golden dome in Greenland to prevent the threat of Russia and eventually China, perhaps, down the road if you were to get into a conflict. So that's the argument he makes.
An explanation, and the maps were very, very helpful.
I appreciate that, to our team putting all that together.
Yeah.
And then, Dana, you get into the argument about natural resources and what's there. Remember the other day we said, when Seward's folly
So, Frank, did
deal with Russia,
that kind of illustrate why the United States is so critical about we need Greenland? I mean, it's the backstop between us and Russian ballistic missiles, yeah?
Sure, absolutely, 100%. The man's on the ball. Trump is on the ball with that. Absolutely, it's critical. It's a critical area.
Well, Trump and his administration, it was a full court press in Davos. They rolled into Davos and they made this case pretty strong. In fact, with the NATO chief and I think Denmark and a few other leaders, they've hashed out a plan for the United States in some form or fashion to get the access to Greenland that we want. I don't know if it's going to become the 51st state or even a U.S. territory with their plan. They've been pretty close-lipped about that. But that gets into the next thing. Let's talk about NATO. Do you remember when the chief of NATO called Trump daddy?
Yeah.
Let's listen to this. This is a report on that.
Despite earlier reports, President Trump was the centre of focus at NATO today and was even described as daddy by the chief of the summit. Europe correspondent Ben Downey reports.
President, Commander-in-Chief, leader of the free world, now Donald Trump can add daddy to the collection of names his contemporaries refer to him as the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte called him that very word in front of the press today, describing the paternal way in which the president brokered this ceasefire between Israel and Iran in a similar way to the way a father would break up a fight between two children. The NATO chief was already doe-eyed for Donald Trump after he secured a huge spending deal where NATO member nations will spend 5% of their GDP on defence by 2035, really the reason for this summit in The Hague. But nobody was expecting he'd heap this much praise on the American president.
They fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
He called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me.
Hey, Frank, did you notice in the back end of that behind Trump? Look at Rubio when he says
Rubio,
Rubio.
Do you regard your NATO allies
his composure
as
back
kind
there.
of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me.
That was great.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm impressed with the way Trump's handling Europe. I'll say that most of my adult life, if you look back on the history of our relationship, the United States relationship with Europe, I say Europe is not our friend. I say that they've used us. They're there in both the world wars. They started them, but they begged us to come in on the Allied side for both of those. At the end of World War I, they relied upon the U.S. economy to rebuild Europe through loans. The Treaty of Versailles, which was the treaty that ended the war, said that the Axis or the Germans had to pay reparations to France and Germany. And the way they did that, they borrowed money from the U.S. markets. This is in the 20s, right? The Roaring 20s. One of the reasons it was the Roaring 20s is that there were great investment opportunities in European, especially on the German side, looking to borrow money. Now, at the same time, France and Great Britain had borrowed money from the United States to prosecute their World War. So we're sending borrowed money to Germany. Germany's using that because they essentially are specifically borrowed money to repay their reparations bills, to pay the reparations to Britain and France. And then France and Britain were taking that same money and pushing it back to the U.S. economy. So essentially, it was the same money. We'd send it overseas, and then it would come back, and we would be half the interest that you thought you would have gotten on the deal, which, by the way, is one of the factors that led into the Great Depression. But that's the first time the Europeans messed with us, and we're there. We're there to support them, and we're good friends when they talk about friends. But they've also had their hands out. Go to World War II, almost the same thing. We didn't get into the same thing on rebuilding at Germany. We kind of took a hands-on approach on that ourselves, and that worked out better in the second round. Then the establishment of NATO. What's the power there? The power is the United States, and it has been the United States since the very beginning. But it goes a lot more than when NATO, where we're spending much more than they are on defense, and we're there to defend them. If anybody steps up, we're there to defend them. But it also goes into drug prices. Trump actually broke into this in the Davos speech that, like France, all these free healthcare, national healthcare systems like Great Britain has, socialized medicine, France, Great Britain, Germany, they've been subsidizing off the U.S. pockets because our medications are more expensive because they don't want to pay great prices over there because the state's paying for it. So they negotiate lower prices, and the drug companies just charge us more here because they can. I think the Europeans have been in the United States pocket since before the 1776, and they don't understand it. So I get a little offended when they start talking about whether we're their friend or not. I say they're not friends to us. But Frank, you've lived a lot of that. What do you think about my assessment?
Yeah, I got to agree with you, Joe. They've been using us for years. The United States puts the majority of the money into NATO. We're always there to help everybody. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Are they our friends, or are we just a wallet with a lot of money? That's about it, you know, because they've been known to cut down Trump for this and that and whatever. But, you know, I really don't give 2 cents about any of them, actually.
No, I agree. I don't either, but it seems like in the news media, they're making a big deal out of it. I say they can go piss up a rope with a lot of these things. And I think they've been in the U.S., the continent's pocket, even before 1776. The United States, the American colonies were a cash cow for the Europeans, both on the French, Spain, and Great Britain side. They would bring commodities up out of the Caribbean. They would pick up more commodities in the Americas, and then they would take it back to Europe. But Europe's been feeding on us like a tick since before 1776, and I don't think that's ever really ended. But Corey, do you have anybody in the space that wants to make any comments on this? And then I want to show a video that gives a comparison to the 31 NATO countries against the U.S.
Yeah, B has a hand up, and then actual factual is coming up, and he's probably gonna have a question.
Let's go with it, B.
Good morning, gentlemen. on the daddy clip. I believe that the only thing that could have been better is if Trump said that's Big Daddy to you. So I loved it.
I think it's implied. They already know. Actual factual, you have something you'd like to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that because there's a lot of talk about, fiscal responsibility and finding fraud, and there's approximately like 600 billion unaccounted for in the Defense Department, and now Trump wants to increase the budget to 1.5 whatever trillion. What do you think about all that? Because I see an agenda.
Yeah, I think the agenda is making sure that we're the dominant military force on the face of the earth, because the minute we're not, we're no longer a country. They'll come after us. I hear this about Pentagon spending, and I'll be honest with you. In order for us to have secret programs, you can't know about them. So I think there's always going to be a black hole in our Pentagon budget. And I have to trust. And I'll say that the U.S. government hasn't let me down in my lifetime for sure, but I'm going to have to trust that money is going to things that puts capabilities in our military hands and at their disposal that no other country has. And we saw this like in Venezuela. We saw this with Midnight Hammer in Iran. I know a lot of folks don't think much of those. They were pretty small operations. But I think the thing, and Frank, you're an Air Force veteran. I think one of the key significant things there is that our enemy could not see us. This is significant. This is a capability that's better almost than a nuclear weapon, when you're able to penetrate your enemy's territory uncontested. They can't do anything about it. And we saw that again in Venezuela. So I'm not opposed to increasing the defense budget. I think we probably should do a couple of years of $1 trillion more and get some more money in there. We're in a pivotal time in the world where technologies are changing. And Frank, you were in the Air Force. Well, you weren't in the Air Force then, but there was a transition in the 1950s. Then we were worried about nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons would have been delivered, though, by bombers like B-52s. You'd have to fly over into a foreign country space, just like we did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, drop the bomb, and then fly out. This is not the most efficient way to deliver ordnances. But in just a few short years, intercontinental ballistic missiles arrived on the scene, and it negated B-52s. It negated bombers. That wasn't the way ordnance would be delivered to your enemy. Now we've got supersonic. We have, we don't, I think we do. I don't know if we do or not. But Russians, for sure, they've tested it and they've used it in Ukraine. Supersonic weapons that we can't counter those. We can't shoot them down with our conventional air defense systems, SAM systems, and things like that. Now, I suspect that we do have, if that were to come our way, we would have something for it. But I'll say that guess and that faith that I give you that we're talking about actual, it comes from maybe $250 billion in a black hole in the Pentagon that we don't know about, and it's going to come with a $1 trillion price tag.
Yes, and Trump made.
Hang on, actual. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, Trump made a statement just yesterday, I think it was. He had said, we have things that no one knows about. And there's no doubt in my mind about that. No doubt whatsoever. And it has to stay that way. So I have to agree with you, Joe, whether it's 250 billion, whatever it is, you can bet we have secret projects that are going on 24/7. We have to. We have to stay on top, and we want to be on top. So I'm okay with, them saying that, because there's no doubt in my mind there are big projects. There's things that have been going on for years that the public doesn't know about, that all of a sudden, boom, here they are, the stealth and all that we have. We can move around and nobody knows we're there. So
no, great. Go ahead, Axel.
Sorry, there was a lot to take in. I hear what you're saying, and I'm not, I understand our capabilities are second to none. I heard all types of things about the Venezuela raid and this new type of sonic weapon, whatever. The military is they're amazing. There's no that's fully recognized. But my point is whether number one, we can afford it. When we're talking about that much money, when our financial situation is kind of collapsing as well, and they're.
Well, let me ask you this, because we're not gonna have a long time for a philosophical discussion on this. We can after this streaming ends. We can do it then. But can we afford not to be number one? Can we afford to slip? I say that we can't. I say that the minute we slip, our adversaries, and I'll say Europe. I'm telling you, Europe's not our friend. They'll turn their backs on us just as quick for their own interest, I believe.
The thing is, we're spending all of our money there, where China's beating us when it comes to the financial space. We're running ourselves into the ground, and military or not, if China overtakes us economically, it's just a matter of time.
But China doesn't. China's economy still not the size, not the potential economy, not how many people you could sell to there, but their GDP doesn't match ours. Their ability to produce still doesn't match our potential ability. And I like the Trump administration. I think we probably should have done this 10 years ago. But I like what they're doing now is focusing things back here, and we need to put some money into our military defense budget, because we are trying to. And remember, we beat the Soviet Union not with nuclear weapons. We beat them with $1. They couldn't compete with trying to keep up with the United States, because the United States was setting the standard. But before we go much further on that, let's take a look at this. If you're watching the stream, you'll see it. I don't know if this is actually going to be a lot of text and some pretty music. But here's a comparison of the United States, just general strength, which you know of, not the things you don't know of, but the general strength of the United States compared to the 31 NATO countries. Think about that, 31 NATO countries. And here's how we compare. And I'm going to pause a little bit here to talk. The population of all NATO countries, 631 million to our 341, really 342 million. So they outnumber us almost 2 to 1. Nominal GDP, all 31 countries matched to the United States. We're still $9 trillion above all NATO countries. They surpass us in purchasing power, how much cash they have available to spend. Keep that in mind as we watch the rest of these numbers. All of them combined, 485 billion, 31 countries in NATO that are supposed to contribute to mutual defense of the 31 countries, 32 if you had the 31's not including the United States. The United States, 895 billion U.S. tax dollars. That's not being divided by other countries. That's coming out of our pocket that we've spent and we continue to spend annually to defend this alliance. Nuclear weapons, they have 515 out of 31 countries. Our single country has 5,004. Two and a half times total personnel. These are people in uniform in the 31 NATO countries and the United States. 2 to 1 they have. comes to total aircraft in the Air Force's 7,456 total aircraft. These are not all necessarily combat aircraft. There can be surveillance and cargo lift capacities there. The total aircraft for the United States Air Force, 13,043. But here's something that's interesting. The world's first, second, and third largest air forces in the world all belong to the United States. Air Force being first, Army being second, and the Navy being the third. We own the top 3 spots in the world's largest air force. Now, see the tanker? They have 65 in-flight tanker aircraft. We have 505. One of the reasons that is that we're expected, the United States will be expected, and we do, project our power around the globe. NATO has never intended to. With 65 aircraft, that'll get you refueled over the European theater. But they've never intended to project their power across the globe. They've relied upon us to do that. Now, this the tonnage of ships, that's misleading. There are NATO shows that they have a lot more ships than we do, but pay attention to which ones you would send into combat. Aircraft carriers, 6 to 11 is where we're at here. And I know that was a little bit long, but I think it gives a great illustration as to how that NATO's not, these other countries, they're not completely weak, but if you'll pay attention where they have high numbers and we have low numbers, it's always in the support roles. This is what NATO would be expected to do if we all had to come together and fight. But going back to my point again, that NATO's not our friend. They've been riding us. You go back to the artillery. Artillery, honestly, is old warfare. It probably hasn't been real relative in the 21st century, to be honest with you. We'll use it. It's a good thing to have, but we don't have in the old days where you would have counter batteries, the enemy shooting artillery at you, you're shooting artillery back. When the enemy shoots its artillery, we'll use our aircraft and we'll take them out. They won't fire those guns again. Look at frigates. Look at petrol or refuelers, sea refuelers. We have none. We would depend upon Europe to refuel if we need to. I think we have other ways to do it, but if we needed them, that's when they would come into the role. For them to stand up, honestly, when we talk about Greenland, for them to stand up and say, hey, that's our sovereign nation and we're going to do something about it. They sent 34 fucking people there from, I think, 3 different nations, as if that's going to do something. I think it's an insult in a U.S. citizen's face that any European would stand up and claim that Greenland somehow or another they own. They haven't provided defense for it since World War II. They haven't provided shit for it. The things that are there, the United States has put there. It hasn't been a collaborative effort with anybody else in NATO. And I'll be honest with you, that's one of the reasons that I get a little bit offended with Europeans that come in and talk about how Americans should be living. What do you think about that, Frank?
Yeah, I agree 100%. NATO wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the United States. So, you know, they have, when they were sticking their whole nose in it and rattling their sabers and shit about Greenland, you know, my thought was, kiss my ass. You people would be nowhere without the United States. If it wasn't for the United States, you'd be talking German. So I don't care to listen to their bullshit. Not for 2 seconds.
Well, just the facts is that we spend them 2 to 1 out of their 31 countries. We outspend them 2 to 1. And if a bullet goes up or the balloon goes up, you will, it's the United States that comes over. Pay attention to the mix. Every combat vehicle, we dwarf everyone else. We have more combat assets because we're the ones that are intended to fight. It's American blood that's going to be spilled on the battlefield. So when Axel talks about $1 trillion, sure, spend $2 trillion. Whatever it takes to bring our American servicemen home, because we go with every inch of this planet to defend other countries. We haven't really defended ourselves since World War II.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree.
Anybody
if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't be around.
Without a doubt. Anybody in the space have anything to say on this subject before we move to the next one? Looks like Doc does. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. I know we've kind of beat this one to death, but just a little food for thought. Our agreement with the European countries at the end of World War II, they were expecting us to come in and take over the way it had always been done in European wars. You know, to the victor goes the spoils. We didn't do that. We said, okay, here's what's going to happen. You guys can trade anywhere you want to. We'll protect your shipping, but we get to dictate your defensive capabilities. The thing that's happening about the
you're coming in real rubber band, my friend.
NATO.
Your connection may not.
All right, I'll go ahead and drop.
Yeah,
take it up a little later.
Get yourself reset, my friend. Sorry, you just come in so bad. I don't think anybody can understand what you're saying. All right. You know what? While we do that, now, Frank, you were when you were in the Navy. Did you ever have any like commanding officers that piss you off? That still piss you off still today?
I wasn't in the Navy.
Oh, that's right. You were in the Air Force. Well, kind of the same thing, same principle. Now, I was every now and then I'll pop up my feed. There's a Navy SEAL, a retired Navy SEAL that chases down all these other Navy SEALs that say they're Navy SEAls. He'll pull your damn service records and find out what school you went to. But I found this. This is someone who called him hoping that he could help him find someone that he served with on a ship. But listen to this interaction.
Senior Chief Don Shipley, good morning. I am DMSN Seaman John Clive on the USS Saratoga. This conversation has had nothing to do with a SEAL. It has to do with a deck officer of the deck division on the Saratoga, Lieutenant Commander Hartung. That's the only thing I know about him. He made my life a living hell for the 2 years I was deployed on that ship. evil, evil man. A lot of shit happened. I wish to explain it to you. I'm trying to find him, and when I find him, I'm going to stick my finger in his eye as far as I can, poke his eye out, and skull fuck him. That's how I feel about him, and if he's dead, we find out he's fucking dead, I want to piss on his grave. That's how much he infuriated me. He messed up my head. I'll tell you the whole story if and when you receive this message and we can discuss this issue. Thank you so much, sir.
Frank,
have a good day.
Have you ever served with anybody that many years later, this is how you felt about them?
No, never have. Man, that guy really has some issues. No, I never have. I had very little to do with any high up command people. I had a job and I did it, period. End of the story.
How about in the space? Corey, do you have any commanding officers or somebody that I'll be honest with you, if you went back to the people that I served with and you might have to mute you, Corey. You sound like you're in the wind.
Well, I was going to answer your question, but yeah, so the I don't have a problem with them now. Of course, there was a problem with a captain of when I went to my first tour in Iraq. So it was a captain, and the company still doesn't like him. There's guys today, they don't even invite him to the reunion. If they invite him to the reunion, he might get jumped.
Well, and to be completely honest and candid, there are probably some soldiers that I had as a squad leader that might be calling somebody looking for me, maybe saying some of the same things that maybe I did make their life a little more difficult, but I don't think about them. But it's interesting that this guy did. And the reason he's calling this guy has a tendency to be able to find people, this Navy SEAL, retired Navy SEAL. He wants you to find this guy so that he finds out if he's alive. If he's alive, then he said what he's going to do. He's going to poke his eye out and do bad things to the hole. And he said if he's dead, I want to go piss on his grave. This guy can't go to his grave until he finds out where Captain Hartung is at, so he can apply some justice. But Doc, you were
I don't think it's that serious, but yeah.
Hey, it's serious enough for him to call this guy. He left it on a voicemail to this guy. It's serious enough that he called this guy up to give that information and said, see if you call me back to see if we can find the guy. It's pretty serious, I think.
Yeah, I'd say he's overloaded with PTSD.
Doc, what do you think about that? You served in the Navy. Does you guys really feel that way about your commanding officers?
Not typically, but every now and then, you run across one that maybe shouldn't have been in that position.
I mean, how many years would it take you? Like I've had some platoon sergeants that I didn't really care for too much. I've had more than a couple company commanders for some reason that I didn't jihad with so much. But even today, I mean, I don't think about them. I don't try to find them just because I want to air out anything with it. It's kind of like it's done and gone. So I don't know how deep you have to go with someone in their service that it holds on that many years. But I thought that was interesting, Frank. And when I heard that, it just made me think of you. I'm pretty sure somebody out there is thinking, that son of a bitch, Frank. Come on, I need to find him. He's dead. It's on his grave.
No, I don't believe there would be. There might be a couple that might remember me smacking them or something, but no, I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a kid out there by the last name of Clem, spelled with a K, that he might make some phone calls looking for me, but he did some time in the penitentiary for taking shots at somebody that he probably shouldn't have done. But anyway, moving along, like I say, that made me think of you. And also, I know that you served in the Air Force, I guess, right? We've established that.
Yeah.
And what year were you in, Frank?
I was in from 1966 to 1970. And there are spaces on here. One day I went into a space and the guy had read my profile. And he goes, oh my God, there's a Vietnam veteran in there. He must be 1,000 years old.
Well, in
But,
fairness, but I don't want to get too much on that. Here's what I want to ask you though. You were in 1969. Did you ever hear of a Air Force mechanic stealing a C-130?
No, but I think I read about that. But at the time, no, we didn't hear about it. We didn't hear about anything, Joe, in when I was in Southeast Asia, any place. We didn't have communications like we have today.
Well, sure enough, but I didn't know maybe if you served with this guy, maybe you went to school.
No.
He was an aircraft mechanic. I think he might have been even a jet engine mechanic. But listen to this story. It's a bit of a mystery.
1969, the English Channel. You're looking at footage from a rescue mission. A search team is hoping to find a missing mechanic. Instead, all they find is this big oil slick. And right here, an empty life raft. What really happened here is a mystery. And the woman in this photo is at the heart of it. It all went down the night of May 23rd. While most people are asleep, a 60-ton C-130 Hercules cargo plane roars down the runway of the RAF Mildenhall Air Base in Suffolk, England. This is a flight unlike any other. Not only is the pilot drunk, he's not even a pilot. The man in the cockpit is 23-year-old U.S. Air Force mechanic Sergeant Paul Meyer.
The very idea of an untrained mechanic thinking he could take a C-130 is unthinkable to me.
Earlier that night, Meyer had been boozing at a house party, becoming erratic and combative. Plastered and lovelorn, Meyer decides he wants to see his wife. Except there's a hitch. She's in Virginia.
He's feeling rather homesick, has a lot to drink, and comes up with a brilliant idea, and that is to fly home.
So Meyer goes rogue. He impersonates a high-ranking officer and calls the base, asking for a C-130 Hercules to be fueled up and made ready. And, wait for it, the dispatcher complies.
Maybe when you get a call from a commanding officer, in the middle of the night, you just follow orders.
With plenty of cojones, but absolutely no flight training, Meyer takes off. Retired naval aviator Ward Carroll shows us why that was no easy feat.
So in this government training film, you can see a nice view of the C-130 cockpit. What jumps out at you right away is just the number of gauges. To get the airplane airborne, you have to know which one of those dials is the altimeter, which one's the airspeed indicator, then the attitude indicator. It's a daunting amount of information that's in front of you.
Nevertheless, Meyer begins flying west towards the United States. As soon as the Air Force realizes something is wrong, they scramble a fighter jet and another C-130 to intercept him. According to the official record, they never established contact. Meanwhile, Meyer has contacted someone else. Mid-flight, the fleeing sergeant places a strange call to Jane Meyer, his spouse. As their conversation drags on for 45 minutes, Meyer's mood suddenly shifts. He tells Jane he's run into trouble. Seconds later, the line goes dead. What happens next is the subject of intense controversy. But everyone agrees an hour and 45 minutes after takeoff, the C-130 crashes into the English Channel. The military says the plane disintegrated on impact, but plenty of questions are still hanging in the air.
Rudy, how do you think Sergeant Meyer acquired the technical know-how to take off and fly this plane for more than 90 minutes?
Well, think about it this way. A pilot could know how to fix the aircraft, at least the basics. Conversely, a mechanic might know the basics of flying and be able to taxi and
Okay, Frank, you were a aircraft mechanic. You worked on jet engines for B-52s, right? Bombers?
Correct.
Did you know how to fly a B-52?
No. I what I could do is I could get them started, okay, and taxi, and put the hammer down. Put the throttles to the wall, get the flaps in the right position, and lift off. Now that'd be about it. From that point on, I wouldn't know what the hell to do.
It looked like he was able to do exactly. It sounds like your skill levels might have been comparable because he was able to keep it in flight for. Now, there's another thing. A C-130, it doesn't have the fuel capacity to fly across the ocean, does it?
No, I don't know about that. I've never worked on a C-130, but I doubt it. I don't know. This guy was, wow, man, he was really out of it. And they said he'd been drinking. Man, I just can't believe a guy'd do that. But boy,
you know, in
I
my
just want to know how good the poontang was.
well, in my years, in 12 years, I might have taken like a couple of Humvees, like two. I might have given one back and one I didn't. But either way, I would have never thinking about taking an aircraft.
No,
And
no.
actually, I've taken Humvees. These are like in combat zones, right? You kind of you can get away with some of that to a certain extent. But you can't get away with taking aircraft. But
no.
so you didn't go to this guy. You didn't go to any schools. He was in the same time you were, 1969.
Yeah, he sure was. Absolutely.
Training with him.
What was his name? I forgot. No. Well, no, I wouldn't have been in training with him.
Let's go back to his name. Now you might know him now. Let's go back. He's even got a picture. Let's see if you recognize him.
That's a long time ago.
But maybe the picture will draw you.
All right, go ahead.
23-year-old U.S. Air Force mechanic Sergeant Paul Meyer.
Paul Meyer.
Sergeant
No.
Paul Myers.
Sergeant Paul Meyer.
You know?
I'd have to look at my list of the guys that I was in training with to see if he was in there. But very doubtful. Very doubtful.
We can't
Very
rule
doubtful.
you as a co-conspirator in this.
No, you can rule me out. Plus, they were two different aircraft. You know, I learned on jets that was a prop. It could have been a turbojet. I mean, a turboprop or whatever. But when you go in training for an engine, you're going in for a specific engine, which mine was a turbojet.
We don't know that he wasn't a jet engine mechanic. It just says that he took a C-130. Maybe he was more comfortable with the prop.
Right. Prop. Yeah, totally different.
We've got a hand up. B's got a comment. Go ahead, B.
Well, you know, they said he was homesick, so my only conclusion would be is his gal at home must have served a nice dish.
Yeah.
Well, he was also not old enough to realize that every woman's got that dish and they're dying to serve it. You can get that over there. You don't have to fly anywhere to get it.
Yeah. You know, I guess you see it in every timeline. Well, let's say during a war type situation where guys get homesick, or they're most of the time it's about a woman. It's not about their mom and dad. It's about their girlfriend. Yeah, I've seen it so many, and I'm sure you guys did too. Guys that go home on leave, you know, from Southeast Asia, and they come back with tears in their eyes because their girlfriend had another guy, you know, or they show up at the apartment and it's empty. And I saw so much of that, man. I mean,
you know, that's kind of, honestly, that's part of U.S. military service. It's a strain on
sure.
relationships. And a lot of relationships don't survive that.
Yeah.
It's rare for somebody jumps on a non-pilot that jumps onto a C-130 cargo and attempts to fly it. And if we went on and listened to that rest of that YouTube video, which we're not, it goes on to say that maybe the CIA, it goes into conspiracy, right? That like it doesn't make sense for this guy to do it, so it must be the CIA. I don't know what advantage the CIA would have to crashing a C-130 into the English Channel, but maybe so.
Yeah, it's always the CIA. It's all bullshit. You know, the guy took off, wanted to go see his wife. Maybe midway in the flight, he goes, holy shit, I'm really screwed now because where am I going to land this fucking thing to begin with? You know, maybe he thought this was really stupid. I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life. I'm going to ditch this fucking thing in the water and call it quits. Who knows, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what was going through his mind when he took. Well, they said he'd been drinking, so maybe he got up and sobered up a little bit. Frank, that's happened to you before, right? It was a good idea.
Yeah.
Sober up a little bit. Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, sober up, and you go, oh, did I really do that? Yeah, you know. Yeah, sure, that could have happened.
Am I really flying this plane? Shit.
Yeah. What the hell did I do? Holy shit. Yeah.
Never said, oh, I fucked up. Lord have mercy. I know how to drink for a long time.
Explain this, man. You're not going to be able to make it sound right. But now, Frank, you're in Missouri, right? Is it cold up there?
Yeah, man, it's going to be single digits and even minus digit this week, starting tomorrow.
Well, it's our annual time here, and I've seen a lot of posts talk about, oh, Texas is going to get snow, like there's panic down here. What you guys don't realize is that when we get a little bit of winter weather down here, like snow, it's like it's an unscheduled holiday. We don't know when it's going to be. It'll be in the winter months when the snow flies. Nobody's upset. Everybody stays home and has a good day. Kids go out and play in it, and so we're looking forward to the snow coming. But here's a little bit, but what the news is saying, it's a snowageddon that's on our way to us folks here in the great state of Texas. But listen to how it's portrayed.
All right, let's head down south, back to Texas, the Lone Star State. It's
Plan
one of 30 states bracing for this potentially historic winter storm. Crippling ice and snow, those are big concerns, and both of those things set to arrive on Friday. Jeffrey Halstead is the retired chief of police at Fort Worth PD, and he's now spokesman for Genesis Emergency Communications. He joins us now with more. Jeffrey, thank you for being here. Communication is such an important thing in the lead up to events like this. How do you get that point across when we're concerned here about multiple hazards, the snow, the ice, and the cold air to follow?
Well, Ian, thank you for having me. And number one, you and your team are doing a great job at showing and profiling just how massive this storm is. So these residents and our citizens need to take note. This is very, very serious. So what these cities and counties are doing is they're actually taking all of their preparedness models and deploying them instantly for mass notifications, communication to residents, but then making sure that they have plans. Do they have food, water supply? Do you have your life-saving medications ready and fulfilled so that you can withstand 3, 4, maybe 5 days of no travel, no electricity, and no ability to get to the outside world? So those are massive communication responsibilities, but these emergency managers are ready for this. They plan for this.
Now, Frank, are you prepared that way? Do you have enough prescription medication? Are you prepared to everything that's coming your way? Because you guys get it before we get it.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. We've had weather like this before. Long as it's not an ice storm, I'm okay. Where take down the electric and all that shit. But we very seldom lose electric. I'm in a rural area, and we have a co-op, a nonprofit electric company, and we're not affiliated with any of the big ones. So ours is strictly for this area, and we don't have those issues. Go ahead.
I'm glad that you're electrical secure. But what I'm asking is that when you guys get a little cooler weather coming to you up there, is that what the news reports? Do you have news reports like that?
No.
When down
yeah, they do.
If snow's going to be below the Red River here in Texas, they act like it's a hurricane coming. That you need to prepare and have 10 days worth of supplies in your house and all that. Yeah. Is that the way it is up there?
They do for the elderly, to get elderly in. Make sure they got medication. Yeah, they do that. Maybe not as extreme, but they do that. But I want to tell you, Texas is. Would you compare Texas to Oklahoma? Because I drove through Oklahoma many times, many winters, and 30 years of driving a truck, and them people. They don't drive worth a shit when it gets bad in the weather. I mean, just terrible. So I'm going to assume, Joe, that the state of Texas is probably similar to that.
What saves us is that people stay home. You just don't go. I mean, everything will be closed. Come Friday and probably Monday as well. My daughter's already planning her 4-day weekend because she'll be out Friday. She'll be out on Monday as well if the weather holds up like it is. So we just stay home. I stay off the roads. But Texas drivers don't have the experience of driving in the snow and ice as maybe you guys up north.
Yeah, we don't close anything. It would have to be 2 to 3 foot. Well, it'd have to be 3 foot or better. I've only seen it one time in all my years of them shutting down places, and I think that was around somewhere in the 80s, 90s. I can't remember, where actually tractor trailers where the snow was up beyond their bumper. So maybe 2.5, 3 foot, something like that, you know. But other than that, no, I don't remember any time shutting down.
Go with the hand.
Unfortunately, it's Cody. Go ahead, Cody.
Cody, weird.
Oh shit.
Damn, Cody. Go ahead, Cody.
Hey, thanks for having me, everybody. I'm glad to hear the excitement in everybody's voice when I'm on stage. Wanted to touch on that. You know, I think you hear a level of severity when they because Texas isn't equipped for cold weather. You cup, you know, something different that we get down here. You know, that our northern counterpart experience a whole lot is that not only do we
yeah, you're coming in real rugged, my friend.
Weather, you know, down out there.
I don't know if that's just for me or for everyone, but you're real rugged.
Yeah, you're rubber banding or something.
How's that?
Yeah, try
Go
it.
ahead, try it.
Any better?
No.
No,
it's not. But really, in the end of the day, we in North Texas we probably do it better than they do it down in Houston. It's just that you just don't get it that much. So the few days that you're gonna have it, it's much it's cheaper and it's a lot less troublesome for everybody just to stay home. Keep the kids out of school. And like I say, it's a floating holiday. We don't know when it's going to be. It'll just be during the winter months, but it's almost as good as Christmas. In fact, we'll get more days off for snow than you will from not your kids, but your work. But you'll get more days off for snow than you will for Christmas.
Yeah. Like I said, Oklahoma, if those people in Oklahoma, if they were driving for shit, they wouldn't get a smell. They're terrible.
Well, in Texas, we have an affection for our northern neighbors. If Oklahoma didn't suck so bad, we'd fall in the Gulf. So our existence depends on how bad they suck.
That's a good one.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's just about the end of the live stream that we've got for today. Frank, any closing statements or any words of wisdom that you want to impart upon these folks for this cold winter weekend coming up?
Stay inside, stay warm, man. Have plenty of food and relax, enjoy it for 3 or 4 days. It'll all pass by.
And this too shall pass. Any closing remarks from inside the space, Corey? Anything that you guys want to say? By the way, you guys stay in the space. Frank and I will join you in there in a few minutes. But
y'all hear me now?
Well, we have B.
But then
Cody just came back in.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say something really quick. Just be aware of those exploding trees. I saw that there might be exploding trees in this ice snap.
How do trees explode?
I don't know. They get so cold. I guess they just explode.
This is not true.
They just break. They don't explode. They just break from the weight of the ice.
Without a doubt. Hey, folks, that's going to be the end of our stream. We're going to close it out. Join us in the X Space. We'll keep the conversation going, and we'll dive in a little bit deeper into these exploding trees. I wish I'd known about that earlier, Frank. I'd have brought some video about that.
Yeah, I love it.
Exploding trees.
Yeah.
All right, okay. We'll catch you in the space in just a minute.
Frank tells tales of 1852.
Oh, yeah, I'd have done it with both hands.
While Joe spins jokes both old and new.
A real airman would be able to tell me.
No, you're full of shit. not at that fucking altitude.
A real airman in the space down there. He can tell me what kind of fire that is.
So grab a seat and settle in. The fun is just about to begin. It's time for the Frank and Joe Show.
Yeah, they'd be full of shit too.